Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? So we know Sean Payton is still aiming to try his hand at media. We know that he wants to be on a broadcast. He's made that known. Hasn't yet finalized a deal. Likely to happen, but we'll see where it is. In the meantime, he's making a lot of the rounds. He's doing a lot of podcast interviews. He's going to a lot of radio shows, TV, wherever, just to continue to have his name out there and to do this type of stuff. And he's good at it. Sean Payton was a guest on the Green Light podcast with Chris Long. And he spent about an hour with the guys on the podcast. And they talked about a range of subjects. I think Sean Payton really is good in this format too. When he can go long form and tell stories and go really deep, I think he's good. And it was funny too. He told a story about when he was with the Giants scouting Tom Brady and how he actually tried to convince the Giants to draft Tom Brady in the third or fourth round, and he basically got poo-pooed. He told a story about Tony Romo. Sean Payton was the one who scouted Tony Romo with Dallas and ultimately got the deal done with Tony Romo. And they signed him for $15,000. And he told the story where Jerry Jones said it was between Dallas and Denver and thought they might need to go up to $25,000. This was a quick snippet of Sean Payton telling a story there at the end.
Jerry Jones had said to me, "Hey, do we need to go to 25?" And I said, honestly, I think we're good at 15. And so we, sure enough, he agrees to come to Dallas. And again, I haven't known Jerry but for 2 months, and the draft ends, and we're, each organization's got food brought in. We had barbecue, of course, in Dallas, and I remember just eating some brisket in the cafeteria, and Jerry walked over to me and said, I don't know you that well, but I like you already saved me $10,000. So,
a billionaire worried about 10 G's. Hey, man, you don't become a billionaire because you're not concerned about every dollar. But it was a really good conversation. And they talked about ambush. They talked about how Sean Payton was always eager, and the Saints were always eager to get guys and players their performance bonuses. They covered a lot of subjects. And ultimately, they circle back to Taysom Hill and kind of tells the story, Sean does, about how he identified Taysom Hill when he was on playing the preseason in Green Bay, and how they put in the claim for Taysom Hill to get him on the roster, on the 53-man roster. And they talked a good bit about Taysom, and I found it interesting because it's going to matter now, this year, with Taysom going back into that role on this team. This was Sean telling a quick story about the first game when they were going to unleash Taysom in the meeting he had with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on Fox.
I remember in the production meeting, I said, Troy, there's going to be this guy, Taysom Hill, number 7, who's going to line up at L3. He's going to be a rush on the punt. He's going to be all over the field. I just want you to know this guy's something else now. And I think in the very first game, something's going to happen. And I just want to give you like a reference because you won't know who it is.
Yeah, you sure wouldn't have.
Oh my gosh. And when I tell you though, sure enough, he's first down on kickoff. He blocks a punt. He's running a fake punt, and this legend began to grow, and it was earned.
Of course, they continued the conversation further into Taysom Hill's role. And Sean Payton did talk about the contract, which has been misunderstood by many people. I think people here who follow the team closely understand that it was an incentive-laden deal that basically expanded if he became the starting quarterback. But listen how Sean talked about it.
Our vision at the time was develop him at quarterback, because he had traits. I think he's 5-2 as a starter. The first year he played, he won the first 3 games, played poorly against Philadelphia, had a tough game. Chris, I think you might have been there, and then bounced back. And so a lot of people have been back and forth about him at quarterback, but meanwhile, all the while, he's playing F tight end.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to see, I think there was a lot of people wondering about the contract this year. And the contract this year that he signed is reflective, is solely based on him being an F tight end. Anything at quarterback would be adjusted.
2 times Sean Payton said F tight end. When Dennis Allen was at the owners' meetings and talked about Taysom being a tight end, he specifically mentioned the F tight end. But a lot of people just ignored that. We talked about it here, but a lot of people glanced over that. And they assumed that Taysom was going to play a traditional tight end. No. They're just talking about the role Taysom has had on this team. Call it a tight end, call it an F-back, call it whatever you want to call it. It's the Taysom role. That's what he's talking about. F tight end, where sometimes he's attached, sometimes he's blocking, sometimes he's kind of in that H-back role, sometimes he's split out. It's just the Taysom role. Again, call it tight end, call it F tight end, call it whatever you want. That's what he's talking about. So don't be confused. Like, the Saints haven't answered their tight end problem because Taysom's playing tight end. He's playing the Taysom role. And Sean Payton even elaborated a bit more on the challenges of having Taysom Hill play backup quarterback.
I think these next 4 years, he stays healthy. You're going to see this guy narrowing in more at that position. And because he's not at quarterback as much, you're going to see him on the field more in the kicking game. One of the challenges when Taysom was the 2 was, look, if you're dressing 2 quarterbacks, it's hard to run your backup quarterback down the field on all 4 core special teams. On any play, his right pinky finger could go sideways, and then he can't play quarterback.
I think it did. Didn't he bust his finger up real bad maybe last year?
Oh, he's had a concussion. It's just the way he plays. So you had to understand what his role was in that game. And so the challenge sometimes when you lost the player ahead of him, Taysom became the 2, and you lost 2 players. You lost Breeze, for instance, and then you lost Taysom Hill that was playing like in an elite level special teams player.
It's one of the reasons why I am more bullish on this Saints offense than a lot of other people are. I've said it already. You're better right now than you were week 18. You've got a healthy Jameis Winston. You're going to have a healthy offensive line. I realize Teron Armstead in there, but Teron Armstead missed half the season last year anyway. I mean, you were playing Jordan Mills at offensive tackle. It was Mills and Hurst, and I mean, Throckmorton. I mean, you just had a mash unit. So you're healthy. You've got Jameis back. You've got Michael Thomas back, and that's the other part we're missing. Like, Taysom Hill is back in his Taysom role. He's not playing quarterback. There's no ambiguity. There's no confusion about what he's going to be. He is going to be in that Taysom role this year, which is where he provides his most value. Sean Payton also talked about that.
There's 3 or 4 tight ends in the league with a similar contract that I wouldn't come close to thinking about trading for this player. And that's how much and it's not until you play against them, or it's not until you're in the division or even closer on his team or coaching him that you realize the value.
Sean Payton realizes the value. Pete Carmichael was right there, riding sidecar with Sean Payton for all these years, building the Taysom package and all that sort of stuff. Does Pete Carmichael still see it? They got the player under contract. He's not going to play quarterback. So Pete Carmichael to find a way to keep getting Taysom Hill involved in creative ways to keep growing that value. But I love it that there's now a clear, concise vision for what Taysom is going to be, and it's not good. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.